Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Alex's Afternoon Art Show. Today, we're drawing Blade, and this is the first of two, being this one and the next, accidental happenstance specials. So today's special because this is technically speaking the first of, this one will come out on the first week of February. This is, I suppose, technically speaking, our Black History Month special, and then next episode will also be a special. Which, I mean, by nature of me mentioning that, probably will be obvious what that one is, but I'm not going to say it now in case you haven't figured it out. But yeah, this one and the next one weren't planned as specials, but I guess they technically are because they just happen to fall on those. I also believe this might be... I'm trying to remember, is this our 100th episode? I don't think it is. So, Batman Superman 97... Mr. Sinister 98. Oh, this is episode 100. Yeah, this is the 100th episode. I mean, there's nothing. I don't feel like there's necessarily any need to do anything special for episode 100. I feel like it would be kind of. I don't feel a need to do any big crazy specials or anything like that. It's just it doesn't feel necessary to me. This is the 100th episode. I'll probably do more afterwards. There's no need to make a big hubbub about this one. I'll just carry on doing it as I normally would. This is just another episode. Because, yeah, I mean, gimmick episodes, there's no real need to do them. Especially in an art show. I don't know exactly even what I do in a weird gimmick episode. So, yeah, anyways, today we're doing Blade. I just wanted to do Blade. Blade's been on my list for ages and I haven't gotten the chance to do him. So I suppose this is it. I'm doing Blade now. So, yeah. Next few are also ones which I've had on my list for ages. But again, as I said in the previous episode, in the last few episodes, if you got suggestions, I'll hear them. I'll consider them. So leave them in the comments if you got them. I'll listen. No guarantees on whether or not I'll do them though. But yeah. Anyways, that's a lot of rambling before the episode's even begun. We're already 2.5 minutes in here. So I'll roll the intro and then I'll actually start. So yeah. So yeah, this is what we got. Yeah, so this one was a real hodgepodge in terms of the reference that I used. I used about 9 different pieces of reference and very awkwardly shoved them together. So there may be some slight proportional differences here and there, which I kind of had to fiddle with every now and then. But yeah, so largely, if you've played Midnight Suns, you might recognize that a lot of this is Blade's design from Midnight Suns. His core design, not his weird gold one, because I don't like that. I don't like any of those weird looking gold designs. But yeah, this is basically what he looked like in Midnight Suns, because I like how he looked in that game. And he was voiced by Michael Jai White, so that was fun. But yeah, so you'll notice I've got these little bubbles here which have the degrees on them. So what that means is that is the rotation I will need to have the canvas at in order to do my straight lines, because if I hold shift and do a straight line, it does a straight line relative to where I am on the screen, or relative to the rotation of the canvas. So if I rotate this to be 18 degrees, I can do this straight line. If I rotate this to 9 degrees, I can do this straight line. That's why I have them marked, just to remind myself later. And yeah, so there's a few little bits which I think I wanted to go over. So yeah, we're going to be talking about lighting in this one. So I've got the gunshot here. That is going to be casting a heavy kind of yellow, well not heavy, but some yellow light on Blade's face, on along his arm, and on his chest, and a little bit on the sword. So we're going to be getting that, and also we're going to be going for a heavy red color palette here. We're going to be going very, very red. Our background is going to be a deep, deep red, and all of our gradient maps later are going to be very, very red as well. So I'm going to be trying to go for a very, very red color palette here. But largely that's stuff that's going to be dealt with when we get to the gradient maps. That's not really going to come up as much in the earlier parts. It's obviously not going to come up in the details. But yeah, so as I say, we're going to be having a lot of shadows being cast, or yeah, some bright kind of, all our brights are going to be coming from the gunfire, and then everything else is going to be in shadow, more or less. So I'm going to be using a lot of darker shading when we get to the actual shading. everything else I needed to really go over. I'm conscious about time now because that actual intro ran for quite a bit. But yeah, stuff like the gun and all this, the sword, all this stuff is design-wise from... all that stuff design-wise comes from Midnight Suns. And again, a lot of his design here is also just pretty much just straight from Midnight Suns. I changed the jacket a little bit because I found that I feel like his jacket is a little over, or his coat is a little over-designed in Midnight Suns. So yeah, we're going with this instead, which is a little bit more kind of pared down. It's mostly just a black trench coat. That's all we're going for here, really. Yeah, so expressions-wise, I had to get a whole bunch of different reference for his face, so that I could, yeah, get a kind of a big yell coming out of him, because I want it to look like... naturally, anytime you're drawing Blade, it feels like you need to kind of have an excuse to show the teeth, even though he's a recognizable enough character as is. Just feel the need to do them. You just feel the need to draw them in. So that's what I've done here. I've drawn them in. And yeah. So a lot of the darker parts of this are I'm going to be using just the actual line work black for. So for example, the inside of his mouth, I'm going to be using that, and his hair as well, I'm going to be using that. But what I'll do is I'll do it as like the full dark black here, and then I'll go through like that, and then I'll cross hatch it as it's going up so that it looks like a fade. And then if need be, I'll use the eraser to kind of shape it a little bit more. But yeah, that's generally what we're going for with that. But yeah, was that everything I needed to go over? I think that's more or less everything. Yeah, I kind of reckon this one might end up running over a couple of recordings because this is a bit more of a complicated one. I mean, as you can see, this one is probably going to take me a little longer than the last few have. So, as far as things go, this one might be a bit longer. Yeah, just trying to think now. There's probably some bits which I'm going to have to change, not even change, but when it comes down to colors, I'll probably have to rethink some of this stuff, such as the inside of his coat. I don't remember if that's supposed to be red or not, same with the popped collar. I don't remember if any of this stuff is supposed to be red. I don't really remember, but yeah, I suppose we'll find out. But yeah, I don't think there's any huge amount of stuff which I need to go over before we start. I think I've already run for nearly 10 minutes, so yeah. I will, I think, just start with the details, I think. I think there's no more need to dawdle. So yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I generally like a lot of the stuff on his face. I mean, maybe I should mention the stuff with the expressions, because obviously he's yelling, so you're getting a lot more of these harsher lines around his nose. Obviously the nose is more crumpled up. And then you're also getting the anger lines in the forehead, which are kind of really intense lines going along here, more so than you might normally see. And then obviously this is now also creating a harsh line along his cheek because of the intensity of his yell. So that's really it. There's not much to it there. You just kind of got to suss these things out for yourself, I suppose, whenever you're drawing faces. I have a lot of practice at drawing faces, so this is the thing. It's the type of thing where I can kind of, a lot of the time I can kind of eyeball it. To a degree of, well, I want this part of the face to be a little less exaggerated. For example, the model which I used did have his mouth open, but I extended it quite a lot because I wanted it to be a bigger yell. This line I might taper in a little bit more, because whenever you would have your mouth open like that, you would get more of a tapered line. It's not really visible there, but because I'm enunciating it more, you would get a bit more of a tapered line whenever you're kind of pulling your mouth down like that. It would kind of taper inwards like that, because that's the way the skin's being pulled, is being pulled towards your chin. But yeah, now we have run for 10 minutes of rambling, so I will actually start the video now. Well, not even just actually start the video, start the actual drawing. But I have to grab my reference, and so once I've done that, I will actually start. So yeah. Okay, it is now the following day, so I finished the details yesterday, and that took 3.5 hours. So I figured I would carry on and do the rest of this today. So it's just going to be the colors, then the painted shading, then the detailed shading. That's just done. Now today, as I said last time being earlier on in this very same video, as I said earlier, the lighting here is going to be predominantly coming directly from the gun, meaning that we're going to be dealing with largely some pretty flat colors all in all. My blade is mostly just going to have black as his primary colors. It's going to be pretty much just black is going to be most of his colors. I think the inside of his coat will be red here, and then like his gloves will be red, maybe a few bits like that. There isn't going to be a huge amount going on with that stuff. One thing which I'm actually going to have to put in right now, which I forgot to do before, is this is inconsistent now. So I need to do this. Just very quickly do that. And then do this. Just something like that, just so that it's vaguely consistent now. Alright, because I did actually accidentally do a slight pattern on the glove. Didn't necessarily intend on doing, but there, now it's consistent. Okay, so I'll be doing, for my background, I think I'm going to do the double texture thing, meaning our background is just going to be, red. So it's going to be very deep red. I'm going to make it a very deep red. Something like this should do us. Somewhere like that. I might actually sweeten it up a little bit, because otherwise it's going to kind of sort of blend in a little bit with everything. That should do it for the background. Now I need to do our colors. So I'll prep the colors here by doing this, then start with the skin. So, right, I think that's everything I needed to just briefly run through before carrying on. I think, yeah, so I'll have to do the colors, then we'll do the painted shading, then the detailed shading, then that's just done. And now, again, as I say, our lighting here is going to be predominantly from the gun. This is, I suppose, a little bit of an unceremonious shot effect. I did move back the slide. That was something which I decided to do just to show that the gun is shooting. Yeah, I decided to just move back the slide. But yeah, I suppose this is a little bit of an unceremonious gun effect, but you have to, or gunshot effect. You have to understand this is, I'm dealing with very limited real estate here in terms of the amount of screen space that I have for this, so it was something which I had to think about. Was, yeah, the limited screen space that I have here. So yeah, you'll see what I'm gonna do with the gunshot whenever we get to the painted shading, because I'm going to just do this as like a solid bright kind of yellowy color, and then do a bit of like an oranginess, like paint that in on the edge. Not quite how I would do a fire effect. If you've seen other episodes, you might have seen how I normally do fire. If you've seen the Ghost Rider episode, you'll have seen how I normally do fire. But yeah, this isn't going to be quite the same. I'll paint in the edges of the oranginess so that it has a bit more of a cloudy look. Because a gunshot, when drawn, it's not necessarily fire so much as it is. It would be more comparable to, I suppose, be more comparable to like a mushroom cloud is what you'd want it to look like. Is like a very small mushroom cloud where it's kind of like pluming out, like kind of like popping up like that, and it's forming these kind of like this kind of like, as I say, this kind of, I don't even know how to describe it really, but you're seeing here like these curling little lumps as it's going. But yeah, something like that, of where it's kind of cloudy. That's kind of what I'm going to try and make it look like. Something sort of more cloudy rather than fire, like a mushroom cloud. Where it's not quite a cloud, not quite fire. It's somewhere kind of in between. So that's where I'm going with that. But yeah, you'll see what I'm doing that when I ready the painted shading later. For now, it's just going to end up being a one little thing. But yes, so I'll begin doing these colors, and I'll be back for the painted shading. Okay, so that is that part done. So now I'm going to do the painted shading, and we're going to start with the gunshot, because I want to demonstrate the whole idea that I had there. So I'm going to get a brush like this, something a bit more kind of subtly smoky. And then I'm going to make it a bit more orangey, like this. Somewhere probably a little brighter. We'll see how this looks. Kind of. That's maybe not quite right. Now, this is the thing where I'm kind of curious as to how this is going to look on the screen for you, the viewer, because it's the type of thing which I feel like might look terrible. I'm also trying to think, should the lightest part not be the front? Should the lightest part not be the front? So, or where it's coming out of the gun. Oh, I have an idea. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna smoke in. Provided it's working, I'm going to smoke in the edges here. Just going to smoke them in a little bit. I still want it to be moderate. I don't want it to be too overpowering. I don't think this is working very well. Now, the brushes here are a bit temperamental sometimes. Sometimes they have to load, which is a little annoying. And then sometimes they come out in big clumps, so it's a bit of a battle to get them to work. Granted, this color also isn't like hugely different from where we're at currently. So, it seems that, I don't know if it's just my screen or what, but this is like barely visible what I'm doing here. It's a lot more visible on this screen, I assure you. It's a lot more visible to me, at least. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this as the kind of smoky edge, and that the kind of majority of this is like very smoky and cloudy, and that it's kind of like at least that edge is visibly doing something. Yeah, right, let's kind of clump it in a little bit more like that. Bring it in like that, get in like that. So that is that way, is how we're going to do that. And then I think what I wanted, I might actually want to turn that up a little bit. Turn that up to be about 80%. It's still really mild, all things considered. I might get a bit more intense, something a bit more intense, and put it around here as well. That seems to maybe be a bit more visible. Yeah, right. So the other idea which I had, which maybe might work a little better, because this is maybe not the most effective thing in the world, is to... I think this idea might work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do something like this. I remember the rotation that I used to have this at, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this all the way up to the top, have it over the colors and everything. So this will just be the shot spark. I'm going to do this like the lightsaber, if you remember correctly, from the Kal-Katarn episode. A lot of callbacks this time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have something like that. I'm just going to do this like that. I should actually put it over the details so that it's still visible. Zoom it in a tiny bit more. And have it be something like this. That is very much not what I wanted. Yeah, I'll put it in like that. This is basically just how you do a lens flare, more or less. If you want to hand draw a lens flare, this is kind of the tactic, except you just do a straight down as well. You turn the camera to an angle that you want it at, and then you just kind of do that. So right, now that we've got the shot spark, as I've referred to it here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a slight outer glow on that, have it be normal. I'm going to have it be basically the exact same as it is, but have it be a little brighter. And then I'll zoom in so that I can see what I'm doing whenever I'm so that I can see what I'm doing whenever I'm altering it. Have it be very subtle. I want it to be really mild. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a duplicate layer. Put it underneath. I suppose that actually doesn't make any difference if it's underneath or not. So this one will be an overlay, so now it's even brighter. This might not be exactly how I want to do this. What I might want to do is set this to be a blur layer. Like that. This is a little funky how this is working, but we shall see how this looks. Is that looking alright? Is that looking alright? How does it look if I just have it like that? If I just have it as the light? Well, that's okay. I don't hate it, but it does need that though. If it's going to have that at all, it does need that. Both of them have the same outer glow. What if I put some actual outer glow on the gunshot? Have it be same color roughly as that. It'd be normal and it'd be incredibly, incredibly subtle. I don't think we want that. No, I don't think we want that. That doesn't look very good, I think. Yeah, I think this might look better once we've done the rest of this stuff. Because what if I just... I don't know. That definitely doesn't look good. It's also slightly misaligned. I will say it is slightly misaligned. Which isn't amazing. What I'll actually do is I'll do this to fix that. Because I can do that. That looks a little better. How does that work? Apply that. I think it is. I think it was actually aligned right the first time, to be honest with you. Okay, so I think it's just time to start doing this. I'm doing this painted shading, and then I'll be back with the detailed shading. So yeah, that was kind of the idea, anyways, of what I was trying to do. I don't think it looks amazing, but yeah, it's the general idea of what I was trying to get at. Again, it's a bit crap looking, but it might be sold a little better by how the light affects things. So we'll see. If I just turn those off, it's not great without them at all. I might... might see what I'm going to do about that. I might have a think about that. There might be a solution that comes to me for that, but I don't know. So yeah, what we're going to do for our shading is we're going to have our dark parts be very red and our light parts be very bright like that. Because we're going to want it to be that basically the only light is coming from the gunshot, more or less. Not exactly, because we don't want it to just kind of completely blend into the background. But we're kind of going for something sort of like that is it blending a little bit into the background. So yeah, the light parts are going to be the yellowy color and the dark parts are going to be reddy color. So that's the general idea of what I'm going for here. So I will do this painted shading and then I'll be back with the detailed shading. So yeah. Okay, so that is our painted shading done, which was of course naturally very arduous, because I had a very particular type of lighting that I was trying to achieve here. So now it is time for the detailed shading, which I will throw in the light line at the same time. So I think the shot spark, as I've named it, is somewhat growing on me. We'll see. How does it look? How does the rest of this look without it? It looks a little weird without it. It does feel like there needs to be some sort of piece of lighting here. or something to kind of sell the effect a little bit more than how it is currently. What if I put that there? That makes it a little duller. It's much brighter with that. Whoops, that's not at all what I was trying to do. So having this one in front, having the thick one in front, means that it makes it kind of blur more. But then if I leave the overlay in front, that means it's much brighter. I'll leave the overlay in front. I think I'll have a think about it, and I might think about trying to do something else with it. There has to be some way of making that look better, because it's not great looking as is. The texture might do some good for that, to be honest. But yeah, like one of the things which I was trying to do is to try and make sure all the individual materials have the kind of right look to them. So obviously a lot of the body armor has to have a kind of a harder look to it, so I decided to try and make the shading a lot more soft, as you would get on kind of like hard, kind of like molded body armor type stuff, which doesn't have any metal on it apart from these bits, which are obviously metal. And then obviously the coat is supposed to have, it's supposed to be kind of like a leather trench coat, so it's got to have this kind of very, very bright type of light hitting it. So we'll see how all this stuff works when we get to the rest of things. Yeah, we will do the detailed shading and the light line next, and then that'll be us. So yeah, I'll do these bits, and then I will do the gradient maps, and that'll be us. It's okay. Okay, so that is us done. Oh, basically. Yeah, the sunset during that whole ordeal. So yeah, so I did the light line. I did a little trick where I did 2 light lines because I wanted to do a little bit of lighting on the back of his hair, and because I colored his hair as totally black, that means that I had to go back in with a second light line, which was over the detail layer. So yeah, I haven't thought of a better solution to the shot spark situation, so I think I'm just going to leave it as is. The texture might do something, who knows. Otherwise, there's probably a better way of doing this that I just couldn't think of doing. As it relates to this, I think for the most part it's fine, but there's probably a better way of doing it. It needs to have the kind of little explosion there, but it also needs to have the really bright light that comes out of it. But without the big explosion, that means it just looks kind of limp, and with just the explosion, it also looks kind of limp. It doesn't look very aggressive. So yeah, as it stands, this is the best I can think of, so it's time to start doing the gradient maps. So, let's start from the top. We're going to try and make this darker. So first things first, black is going to need to be basically still black, but red this time. Slightly less than black, but red. And then this is going to need to be really yellow. And then this is going to need to be very red as well. But really dark. Have it be like that. So this is very dark and we're only getting the lights a little bit. Let's have a look at that. Yep, definitely darker. Now let's try that on soft light and make it 60%. I was considering for a second separating the background to make sure that it doesn't get affected by this, but I actually think that doesn't make any difference. So right, that's, you know what? 70%. Try 70% on that. I want to make it a little bit more intense so that these dark parts are very dark. Make a duplicate of that. Put it down here, and then we're going to turn that to a luminosity, which is going to make things very dark. So we're going to make this 25%, a little bit more intense than I might normally go for, but we want it to be dark. So now we're going to create another duplicate, and then this one is going to be a color burn, and this one's going to be 5%. We don't want the color burn to be really any more intense than usual. I might actually make the luminosity a little bit more mild because it's making the background like practically brown. Like, look at how much darker that is now. Yeah. So we're going to be doing the double texture thing of where the background is going to have its separate texture. This isn't at 70%. Isn't that any different at 70 or 60? That's 70. That's 60. I think it looks fine either way. 70 is probably what we'll stick with. So right, that's that. So now I'm going to grab the first. Well, actually, no, there's no point grabbing two different ones. I'll just grab one texture, and then I will just duplicate it in here. So right, there's a texture. It loads. There we go. There's our texture. We'll set this to be an overlay, and we're going to set it to be. Actually, yeah, this is. I'm going to have it be very intense on the background. We're going to only have it be at like a 20% on the foreground, because that's still affecting him pretty intensely. We can see it pretty intensely on the gun here. That it's still looking pretty intense. So right, we're going to make a duplicate of this. Now we're going to move it down. Let's put it there for a second. Put it there. We're going to transform it, and we're going to flip it horizontally, so it doesn't super overlap. We're going to turn it up to be 30% so that it looks a little bit more intense. So yeah, it definitely brightens up the background a little bit, which is kind of what we need, given how dark the rest of this is. But yeah, that is us. That is us done. Yeah, I think there's no more I need to really go into. This was a fun one. I think everything going on with his face is good, but I think I really got the expression quite well. I think that's something which I'm quite proud of with this one, is that, yeah, I feel like I got the expression quite well. But, yeah, as it relates to that gunshot, I feel like I couldn't quite get it. And so the sword is a little bit awkward the way that he's holding it. Like, I think the pose largely is okay, but like this pose that he's striking doesn't quite look right. For example, I feel like his head should maybe be tilted more in towards the gun because of how his arm is up. That would cause you to kind of lean in a little bit more with the way that his arm is up, but his neck is a little too straight, I think, for how that looks. So there's a bit of a logical problem there, but I think it looks fine for the most part. Yeah. Anyways, this was a fun one. This was 2 days worth of a drawing. The next one probably won't take as long. Who knows? It's a full body shot, so we'll see. I suppose that's your little teaser for what the next one is. But yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's a huge amount more that I need to go into. I thought this one was fun enough, and yeah, all in all, it was a nice little showcase of lighting because I like to do stuff with lighting every now and then, and that's again what this one is, the gunshot lighting, where it's all kind of very heavy cast shadows from the heavy cast shadows on the back, and then heavy light on the front. And again, you can see, I forgot to mention this, but with the glasses, because his sunglasses are kind of a. Because sunglasses tend to have that different kind of. The way that light hits them kind of weird, sometimes, especially whenever they're tinted. So, because these are red tinted, the light hits them in such a way that whenever the bright light hits, it kind of makes them look weird and orange. And then the edges are like weird and kind of sort of purpley, so that's the kind of way that it hits them here. It's got that kind of weird, really intense gradient going on across them, which I like. I think I managed to get that quite well. And again, I think all the materials do mostly look right. Maybe the jacket doesn't look quite right. The jacket maybe needs a bit more sheen or something on it. But yeah, I think that's us. I think I'll call it there. I think I'll choose to wrap up now. So we'll do the outro. And as I said at the start of the video, if you've got any suggestions, write them in the comments. I'd like to hear them. Whether or not I'll do them is another story entirely, but I'll definitely hear them. I'll definitely at least listen. And I'll add it to the list if I like it. But yeah, because I do have my list of ideas, and again, I'll happily take suggestions if you've got them. But there's no guarantees that I'll do them. Anyways, all that said, that is us done. So, if you like the video, do whatever it is that you normally do, whether that be liking it or not. I would, of course, prefer if you liked it, but if you're not going to do that, you're not going to do it, and I can't make you. So, same deal if you want to subscribe. I don't need to tell you where the subscribe button is. You already know where it is. Maybe it helps. I don't know. But yeah, you know where the subscribe button is. I don't have to tell you. You've presumably seen a YouTube video before. And yeah, if you would like to watch the next video, or if you choose to watch the next video, I will see you next time. So, all that said, that is us. So,